There's nothing especially wrong with making money by telling people what you think, but the problem is that you got to keep coming up with new things to say if you're going to keep people interested. Meghan and Harry, though, don't actually do anything that's worth talking about. They don't make royal appearances, they're not invited to any red carpet events, and if they publicly talk trash about their friends, well, of course they're going to be shunned. Compared to others in Hollywood, they're not very glamorous, they're not going to dazzle people with that, and they cannot act. The only thing that made them interesting was that royal fairy dust, but they are quickly losing that. So they decided to mind their complaints until they ran out of complaints to talk about, and they don't have anything to replace these complaints with. I'm afraid that it is all over for the two of them. But they were the ones who wanted to live in this particular world where you survive by merging your own personality. They should have known they do not have the personalities to do that. And they didn't do a very good job with the time they spent doing it anyway. They don't have anything left to say. Nobody was very interested in the first place, and nobody believed them anyway because we already know they're a couple of liars. And it's not like they can crawl back to the UK with their tails between their legs at this point. They are not welcome there anymore. It's going to be pretty interesting, though, to see what they do next, because neither appears to have any work ethic. The thing is, you can only be successful as an influencer if people really like you and if people want to be like you, and people don't. And the truth is, even though I think it's a very goofy job, being an influencer does require some hard work. The only star quality either of those two had is the fact that Harry was born a prince and he was given that title the Duke of Sussex. Meghan didn't bring anything, though, of quality to that marriage. It is going to be interesting to watch and see what happens next. They've already sold everything they had to offer. There is nothing left for them. They have very expensive taste and they have a very expensive lifestyle. And as far as I can tell, there's no easy, legitimate way that they can make money for themselves. It's obvious now that Meghan was the catalyst for her vengeance campaign against the royal family after they were kicked out by the Queen when Meghan was discovered to have taken photos of little Charlotte while she was sleeping. How scary. Now, from the time that Meghan first entered the royal fold, so many of her negative activities were adding up, like her bullying behavior, her ridiculous demands, as well as the deals that she was making with Netflix and Spotify, which actually were forbidden by members of the royal family. Even so, it was surprising to everybody when they ran away, especially Meghan. She expected the benefits of both worlds as long as they benefited her. She didn't care about the rules. They were given so much money, millions to adapt to their new lives outside the royal family. But then Harry had to whine about being cut off a year later, when in fact that was the agreement the entire time. And since then, they have been whining away about the same dull subject for 3 years, and they haven't even added anything new. The truth is, nobody really cares. Instead, people are getting sick of them, and people just wish they would disappear. Also, what about those kids? I mean, can they really stay invisible forever? And then Meghan Markle is saying that she's going to write a tell-all book about her experiences as a member of the royal family. I guess all 18 months of it. Meghan has to be crazy not to understand that people are tired of reading or hearing the lies and whining from both her and Harry as they're being so critical towards the royal family. I think that fake curtsy that we saw from Meghan on their docu-series probably sealed her fate as far as most of us are concerned. Who would dare to disrespect a woman who was so admired and respected by pretty much the whole world? Any little bit of star quality that was left in that nasty woman definitely evaporated at that point. And now she and Harry are pariahs, as they should be. Only the desperate are courting these two. The popularity of Meghan and Harry has completely fallen, and I don't even know why Meghan thinks that would be a good idea. Although maybe I see a trip to the coronation in Meghan's future. She's got to get more stories to exaggerate or to completely make up. So actually, maybe she doesn't need to go. The celebrity world is superficially attractive, but unless you can keep people engaged and you can produce new interesting products, your time in the celebrity world is going to be very short indeed. Just being beautiful is not enough. Harry and Meghan don't have any talent, and they don't have any real ability to create anything, so they have been reduced to just flocking these increasingly embarrassing and tawdry stories of their private lives and even bodily functions, which, okay, who exactly wants to pay to hear that? Now, originally, they had some novelty, but that's worn off. Many people were interested in them at the start just to see if they kept their promise and were actually going to live independently while doing charitable work. Well, they have demonstrated that they are liars time and time again. I mean, then we learned about Harry flying to London on a private jet and walking among all those cameras to the courthouse, while in the past they have complained that everybody needs to save the planet. We're expected to reduce our carbon footprints, but I guess they don't have to. And then Harry talks about how scared he is of cameras, but he was so busy posing that he walked straight into a photographer. And then Harry also said that he was desperate for security while he's in London, but it didn't seem like he had any to me. He also did not make time to go see his grandmother in her last days on this earth, but somehow he did find the time to show up in court when he didn't even have to be there. I guess he prioritizes that lawsuit, though, over his own late grandmother because the lawsuit might actually have some money for him. See, cash is all the two of them care about. I don't even think bomb threats would prevent them from trying to make a quick buck. I also think that Harry may have had another motive, though, for coming to the UK. I suspect that by the time he flew to the UK, he already knew that the King's trip to Paris had been cancelled. He was very specific when he requested a meeting with his father. How convenient that William and Catherine just so happened to be on vacation, and they were not around to help King Charles resist any manipulation that Harry might try. I really believe that Harry's purpose in coming to the UK was to get access to his father so that he can try to play on his sympathies and his family connections and hopefully manipulate his and Meghan's way onto the Buckingham Palace balcony. Wouldn't that be awful? With their situation being what it is right now, they have got to be so desperate to re-establish to the public that they are connected to the royal family. They are desperate for that shot of them being up there on the balcony with the king on Coronation Day to remind the world of just how important Harry still is, even though he's not. He understands that Charles is weak when it comes to family confrontation. He does not like conflict. And without William there to help him, I think he believes that he would have stood a chance to get his way if he could just have a meeting with his father. But unfortunately for little Harry, he didn't have luck on that front. And I'm guessing he was pretty upset about that because he believes that he deserves everything that he wants. Now, I understand that Charles sometimes is not very strong when it comes to his children, but even I don't think that he's so dumb that he would put Harry up on there on that balcony and ruin his coronation day with his people shouting boos and jeers while he stands there as a newly crowned king. Now, usually he just makes stuff up altogether, but this one is good. They never get invited anywhere with anyone important. Harry has basically made himself into a complete joke. There are so many memes out there about him, and Meghan, I guess, is just along for the ride. It seems like Harry is finally appreciating being in the limelight, even if he's just being laughed at. The photographers, unless they're paid, are not going to post very flattering photos, we can be sure of that. I'm guessing the fact that he's losing his hair also makes him so upset. And sadly, it seems like their main appeal was the royal connection, but instead of using that to their advantage, they thought that they were better than the royals. They thought they were bigger than the royal institution, and they began to view themselves as these big, important celebrities. And as soon as they started whining, and as soon as they started doing very little work for the money they had been given, people began seeing who they really were, and people didn't like it one little bit. After the sensationalism of that Oprah debacle, the truth started coming out, and of course this turned people off. They only have